Hello and welcome to the Many Faces of Cancer podcast. I am your host, Melissa Grosboll, and joining me today is Rick Baker. And Rick launched the Becky Baker Foundation after his wife passed away from stage 4 breast cancer in 2017. He's enjoyed a number of highly successful careers. As a senior pastor for many years, he then transitioned into the media as a newspaper publisher, talk radio personality, and finally a best-selling author. And his book is called The Guy's Guide to Everything Breast Cancer. And I'm so excited to talk about that today. So welcome to the show, Rick.
Thanks. Nice to be here, Melissa. Thank you. This is great.
Yes, I'm so glad that we were finally able to make this happen. I'm so excited to chat with you because there's so much to talk about between your book and the foundation and all the great things that you are doing. But I really want to start with your wife. So, obviously you were her caregiver, I'm assuming, and I really kind of want to talk a little bit about her diagnosis and, what she went through, but also kind of your role, because I don't think that caregivers are appreciated enough and talked about enough, because it's always about the person going through cancer, which obviously, that's very important. But I think that caregivers tend to be the unsung heroes. So I want to talk some about your role in taking care of your wife while she was going through all of this. But if you can, start maybe with her diagnosis and her treatments and kind of her journey.
Okay. We were in 2013, we were shopping at Costco and she stubbed her toe in the grocery cart and fell down on the floor in the middle of Costco and started screaming. Everybody came over and I'm going, all you did was stub your toe. What happened? And she said, you've got to take me to the emergency room. I said, okay. So we went to the emergency room. This was in North Carolina, Wake Forest Baptist Hospital. 2 hours later, an oncologist comes out and says, your wife has stage 4 metastatic ER positive breast cancer. She has 3 months to live. Get your affairs in order. It just rolled off her tongue like she'd said it hundreds of times with no emotion, not having any idea the impact that would have on the listener of that statement. And
wow,
I was not only stunned, but I was pretty upset. And when you get my book, you'll read how I sued Wake Forest and won, forcing him to stop making that statement. No doctor is God, and no doctor can put a 3-month limit on somebody's life, because then they feel like they're going to live 3 months, right? So, and that's what happened.
And a lot of them do.
Most of them do if they believe it. So Becky said, well, let's do the wills. And I said, we're not doing that. She said, I've only got 3 months to live. I said, no, you don't. Well, the doctor told me. I said, well, the doctor's not God. I know you. You're not going to die in 3 months. And so it actually took me 3 months to prove to her she wasn't going to die, because she said, well, I know you love me. I know you're my husband and you're supporting me, but you're not a doctor. And so let's get everything going for 3 months. And I said, no. So after 3 months, and she was still alive, we both, at that point, we wanted to become experts on breast cancer. I really wanted to know more than the oncologist knew, so that from that point on, would know that any recommendation any oncologist would make, I would understand it and be able to support it or not. And Becky and I could talk about it. But she went to organic living. We ate like bark from trees and all sorts of things, that I was a Taco Bell guy, so that was really hard for me for a while. But I did what she did, and no chemo, no radiation, no pills. She said, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And so the first thing the doctors there said is, well, you're being irresponsible with your body. And I said, okay, so what I need now is a new oncologist again, because how dare you tell my wife that? It's her body, not yours. So when you read my book, you'll see what I have an issue, love-hate relationship with many oncologists. They're very necessary.
Totally get it.
We need them. But at the same time, they have to get rid of this God complex, because they're actually killing patients when the patients believe every word, right? So Becky actually lived 4 years beyond the 3 months. And,
oh, wow.
And Wake Forest now uses her as a case study from someone who was irresponsible with her body to start with, to a case study, because how can someone live 4 years beyond a 3-month expiration date with no chemo, no radiation, no pills. How can you do that? Because it's not part of the medical model, right? And the medical model says chemo, radiation, do this, and boom, 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 and you're dead in 3 months. And so the 4 years in between that you're asking about is where the caregiver and everything else comes to play, right? So she, when it metastasized, she would sneeze and crack a rib. We were always afraid if she turned one way too quickly, she would break a femur, her hip. And so she had to be.
So it definitely metastasized to her bones.
Absolutely, went to her bones. And there was, when we did the nuke scan, that everything lit up, all the bones lit up. So on a nuclear scan, as you know, you're looking at the image on the screen, and you're looking at basically a skeleton, and any bone in that skeleton that's bright, has a bright spot, is either cancer or new growth. And the oncologist can't tell you which one it is. Well, it could be cancer or it's new growth. What if the cancer is going away and there's new bone growth? They can't tell you. So we looked a lot at the positive. Well, that's new growth, So she, after about 2 years, I actually thought she was healed, which, stage 4 was metastasized. Unless it's a miracle, it's not going to happen. But she was just like us. We were traveling. She was walking. She was doing everything fine. And then about 6 months before she passed away on Easter Sunday morning, April 16th, 2017 at 4:58 a.m. I was holding her hand, and her last breath, she smiled, and she was gone. And we're the ones left here suffering. And so the last 6 months being a caregiver, being a caregiver from the beginning was something this was an honor for me. I'll tell you about our store in a moment. We are dealing with about 4,000 breast cancer families in Pueblo County, Colorado. And so we're meeting women with breast cancer every day, hundreds throughout the week. I'm stunned at how many husbands and boyfriends have walked away once they were diagnosed. They just left. And for me, there's a special place in hell for those guys, but they just walked away. There's no support, right? So for me, it was an honor to be able to support her. But it's very difficult. We can talk more about, if you don't take care of yourself as a caregiver, you certainly can't take care of my wife, let's say. But I, toward the last few months of her life, pardon me, she had so much fluid that would build up daily that she would, by the end of the day, she would look pregnant, 9 months pregnant. So we would have to go to the emergency room, and they would drain her, and they would sometimes get 5 gallons of fluid out of her body. And the pain, though, when you have that much fluid in your body to where you look that pregnant, it's moving your organs everywhere. It's rearranging all your organs so that when you drain, all the organs are going back where they don't know where to go exactly, and the pain apparently is really intense. So I decided to get certified and do this myself at home. So the last few months of her life, I drained her daily at home. And I'd get 3, 4, 5 gallons of fluid out of her. And that, I can almost, talking about it now, start to break down. That's not easy to do, right? And these guys that abandoned their wives, they missed that opportunity. I'll never forget that, as hard as it was, but when your vows you say in sickness and in health, that's the definition of it, right? Most of these guys, they may have said that in their vow, but they didn't know what they were talking about, because once she gets sick, they bail, So one of the last things she said to me about a week before she passed away was, "I'm just sorry no one's ever going to remember my name." And I said, it really shocked me, because Becky didn't like people. We had dogs, 4 dogs. She loved her dogs. And she was a master gardener. We had a big greenhouse, and talked to her plants and named them, and they thrived. It was wonderful. She didn't really like people. So when she said that, I went, whoa. But what happens is, when we get to the end of our lives, regardless, I think we start to question, did I make a difference on this planet, right? Will anybody remember me? And so I said, I promise you no one will forget your name. And so a month after she passed away, I launched the Becky Baker Foundation. And I was given $1 million life insurance check. I took that $1 million and applied it to the foundation. and I launched what was called the Race for Prevention Tour. It was she was a pilot, jet pilot, and she loved speed. So I went out and I bought a Nissan GTR, which is like the fastest car on the planet anyway, and Hendrick's racing team in NASCAR in Charlotte, North Carolina, learned what I was doing, and they built the car and they wrapped it, and so this was a car that go like 210 miles an hour in a mile, and it was so fast. So I drove that around the country for 3 years through 42 states and about 60,000 miles. It was wrapped, if you go to BeckyBakerFoundation.org, you can see pictures of the car. All over the country, people took pictures because it looked like a NASCAR driving down the road, But it said Becky Baker Foundation, Prevent Breast Cancer. So I did that for 3 years, but during that time, I gave away mammograms. I didn't know what to do to honor her and my promise to her, but I know that she'd never had a mammogram. She'd never even been to a gynecologist. And she was 58 years old when she was diagnosed. And so had she gone and had screenings, who knows what might have happened. But what she did, I found out later from her mom, was she found a lump the size of a BB on her left breast. Didn't do anything about it, told her mom about it. 9 months later, it had metastasized to stage 4. Very aggressive.
Wow.
Had we done
That's fast.
when that BB was on her breast, who knows? But so I wanted.
But you'll never know. So
we'll never know. But I mean, I always wonder, if I'd known what I know now about breast cancer as an expert, if I'd known then, who knows what I might have. The reason I wrote the book, part of which we can talk about, is to teach guys what I didn't know. Husbands, boyfriends, fathers, whoever, to what to look for in your loved ones, because a lot of women, won't. The breasts are very sexual for guys. I love breasts, so guys love breasts, and I loved Becky's breasts.
I don't know many men who don't.
Yeah, I love Becky's breasts, and so Becky actually told her mom one day that the reason I didn't tell Rick is because I know he loves my breasts, and if I had him taken off, I didn't know if he'd still love me. So now that's on her, but that's the way a lot of women think, right? So that's why I wrote the book, is to help guys understand what to look for. If you're playing with your wife's breasts, do it, when you're feeling around, do some kind of a exam too, without telling her, right? And so,
Gosh.
What
a way to kill the mood, Rick. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And so, because, their breasts are beautiful, but they can also kill you, and so, as they did Becky. So that's how the whole thing started, and I promised her I'd honor her name, and so I gave away mammograms and thermograms from 2017 until the beginning of this year, 24. And then the mission of the foundation was kind of winding up, because when I started, it was difficult to get a free screening. Now it's a lot easier to get one, and so I wasn't getting the requests. Gave away, I don't know, 33 to 3,400 mammograms maybe in 7 years.
Wow,
wasn't getting a lot of requests, because they're easy to get now. So I was looking for a new mission, and United Breast Cancer Foundation out of New York contacted me and said, we looked at your foundation, we love what you're doing, we want to partner with you, and here's what we have. We have a warehouse with millions of dollars of brand new product, everything from laptops to beds to clothing, household goods, you name it, everything. All donated, all brand new with tags on it. We want to send it to you. You get somewhere to display this. We will send you as much as you want, unlimited, and you give it away for free to any family affected by breast cancer. So I said, this is kind of too good to be true. Is this real? I went to the Pueblo Mall, and I asked him if I could rent a space for like one Saturday a month, and put some product in there. And they said, hey, we'll give you a space permanently. So the Pueblo Mall gave us a space permanently, 4,000 square foot store, the old Route 21 store. We have right now about $500,000 worth of brand new product in there. And once a month, we have an all day from 8 in the morning till about 5 in the afternoon. We'll have about 300 families come. They register on the website. They bring their own bags. You shop for a half hour. You take anything you want. It's all free. And so Becky would love that. Because she has such a big heart. She always wanted to help those who were less fortunate. And so the fact that I can do that now, I feel like I'm still honoring, her name. And we're just having a ball in Pueblo. There are about 4,000 families in Pueblo that are affected by breast cancer, which is huge concentration. And just it makes it worth it. Melissa, when you see the smile on, a single mom comes in with 4 kids from 3 different fathers that they've never met, and the kids have duct tape on their shoes. And so Nike sent us, as I told you earlier, Nike sent us 2,000 pairs of brand new shoes. So we give them each 5 pairs of shoes so they can grow into the next size. And the smile on the kid's face makes it worth it all, right? Look what I've got. I mean, so we're blessed to be able to do this. And I think, I hope Becky's proud. I'm having a blast now, though.
Wow. I'm sure she is. And it's true. Wow. There's so much that you said that I want to.
I'm sorry, I talked too much. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. First of all, so I just thank you on behalf of Becky, on behalf of, women, men everywhere, for what you did for her, because it is true. Some people can't handle it. Some people aren't cut out to be caregivers. And, I know we talked about this in the past when we first met, and, I try not to judge. Everybody's got their own journey. But I'm so grateful for people like you who do step up and take care of their wives. My husband, my situation was not anywhere near, what Becky's was, but my husband was amazing and
you
took
told me,
care of me. And
so cool.
And what you said about, it's very interesting that Becky said that she was afraid that, that you wouldn't like her breasts or whatever if they had to be taken off. And I remember one evening I was in bed with my husband and I said to him, will you still love me if these have to go?
There you go.
And he just gave me this look like, how could you even think that?
I know. Yeah.
Like, yes, I love your breasts, but who cares?
I know.
Like,
Absolutely.
if you're here, that's really all that matters. So thing for women out there, it's okay. Your husbands will still love you.
They will. And if they don't, there's something wrong with them and it's not you.
Right, exactly. And it has nothing to do with you, but it's something that I think a lot of married women think about, that I even thought about. And I'm so grateful that I have the kind of relationship with my husband that I could, voice that.
Yes.
And get that reassurance. I know that not everyone does.
Becky couldn't tell.
So I guess, how long after she passed did you write the book, and what was kind of the prompting to, like, hey, I need to get this out there in the world?
Well, I've written a number of books, and I promised I wasn't going to write another book. I was working on a reissue of a crime novel I'd written that was pretty popular when Becky got sick, and so I put that on hold. And then after she passed away, I was done writing. But so from 2017 until 2022, let's say, as I traveled the country and met literally thousands of women with breast cancer, even some men, typically what I heard was, I just wish my husband understood what I'm going through. I wish my husband knew what breast cancer was. And so I thought, well, I'm going to write another book. So the book, The Guy's Guide to Everything Breast Cancer, basically tells the story from falling in Costco and stubbing her toe all the way through her passing. Everything that I went through, what to look for, what I went through as a caregiver, so that these guys, because it's become a bestseller, but it's typically women that are reading it, even though it's written for guys, because they want to know what the guys are reading, right? And we've had so many guys down here that everybody who shops gets a free book. My publisher gave me 5,000 books, so everybody gets a free one. And we have so many guys call back and say, one of them just the other day went to the hospital, and the wife was diagnosed and went back. She was diagnosed, given the 3-month deal, right? You have 3 months to live. That really upset him. He read my book, and we went back again, and the first thing the oncologist said was, well, have you gotten your affairs in order since our last meeting? And have you done your living will? And so he had read my book, and he said, I felt empowered. And I said to her, well, ma'am, are you God? And he said, she looked at me, and he said, what gives you the right to tell my wife she's going to die in 3 months? I mean, did you get a special word from God saying that? Well, no. Well, then why would you tell my wife she's going to die in 3 months? Do you not realize how powerful those words are? And the challenge I've had to try to tell her and unwind your words that she's not going to die in 3 months. So that's why I'm thankful the book's out there for that reason, right? But also what to look for. See, I didn't know what to look for. Breast cancer to me was, I didn't know what it was when she was diagnosed. I just knew I loved her breast. And I had no idea what I was in for in the next 4 years, obviously. And I wonder, if I could have survived had I known that I would be, draining my wife daily before she passed away. Those are things that nobody ever thinks about. But it's all in my book because I want these guys to understand. Most of the guys who are reading the book now, their wives have just been diagnosed. So they now know what is ahead, generally speaking, that they probably wouldn't know anything about. I didn't. And so had I had my book when Becky was diagnosed in 2013, who knows what could have happened had I known. You can't go back, right? You can't. I do sometimes wonder, but I just don't want other guys to have to go through what I did. And even though it's a badge of honor, and I was honored to do so for my wife, it's nothing that anybody wants to go through, woman especially. When Becky was a model, and she was almost 6 foot tall and 130 pounds when she was diagnosed. And when she passed away, she was 5'8" and 60 pounds. And her own mother would not go see her the last 2 weeks of her life because she looked subhuman. So what we don't realize, we do, is that when the wife passes away, as devastating as that was, who they leave behind, right? Many times it's a father with 3 kids. And he goes, what do we do now? So that's why I wrote the book. And if it helps one person, I'm thankful. I think it's helped a number. And so I'll send you as many as you want and pass them out. I'm just, you can get it on Amazon, but I don't want anybody to pay for it. I just want to give it to them. And then when you're done with it, pass it on to somebody else.
Okay. Well, if anybody reaches out to me, I don't know, I'll take like the first 15 people who reach out to me and say they want a copy of the book, then we'll get them a copy of the book for free. Because I think that everybody should be able to, have this knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
In all things. Yeah. And the more you know, the better able you are to deal with whatever situations come up.
Yes.
And I get so frustrated when I hear people saying that, my doctor told me I have this much time left. And I've just heard case after case after case, like, okay, your doctor says you have a year to live. Most people die a year later.
They do.
Because that's
they
what
sure do.
If you
listen, we did a study with the hospitals in North Carolina where I started the foundation. And if they listened to what the doctor said, most of them were dead. I had a good friend who I was out of town for traveling for a year. So I came back and he said, I got to tell you, my wife was just diagnosed. And oh no, and where at? Well, the hospital, and what the oncologist said, well, she's got 3 months to live, so she's got to start on chemo next week, and then radiation and targeted and on and on and on. And Becky's story is on the website. So if you go to BeckyBakerFoundation.org, and the link at the top says Becky's story, you can read that and get the whole thing, right? It's a 5-minute read, but it gives you everything. Why she didn't want to do chemo or radiation or pills. It's all right there. And we came up with LAUGH to Live, the acronym: lifestyle, attitude, food, and faith. Those were the 4 principles she lived her 4 years life on. And she lived 4 years longer than anybody thought possible, right? So my friend said, I had my wife read Becky's story on your website, and because the doctor said the same thing, 3 months. And I said, what did she say? Well, she said she really admired Becky for doing that with no chemo and radiation, but she's going to follow her oncologist, because the oncologist said you'll be dead in 3 months if you don't. So while she admired Becky and what you're doing, and I said, what'd you say? Well, he said, I cried. I wanted her to do what Becky did, So she died in 3 months. She did exactly what the oncologist said, and almost 3 months to the day she was gone. And we still talk off and on. And he still says, if only, who knows, but if only she had tried what Becky did. You just never know. But more times than not, the studies we've done, if they believe what the doctor said on a time frame, it's pretty close. They're gone. That's the power of words that my
Absolutely.
head explodes when I hear this. It just explodes.
And and that's the one thing about this is like every case is individual, every case is unique. You need to make the choices that, you know, feel the best for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. Um, just know that there are possibly other options out there besides just what your doctors tell you. We're not telling you don't listen to your doctors.
No,
Want
not
to
at
put
all.
that
No, not at
disclaimer
all.
out there,
I know many
but
oncologists.
definitely look into other
Yeah,
options.
many oncologists are wonderful people. The challenge with oncology, of course, is there's a conflict of interest. It's the only medical field where that exists. So if I'm diagnosed with cancer or you are, we can't go into Walgreens and buy chemo. They
Right.
can't give us a prescription. So they have to diagnose you to give that to you. And there's an oncologist, and I won't tell you where, in Colorado. You'll see her in my book. She buys chemo wholesale market, sells at retail. She's making $4.2 million a year selling chemo to patients.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal. Yeah. So the challenge, and most of these people are going to die. So the challenge is, and we read about this all the time. If you pay attention, it seems like once a week there's an oncologist somewhere in the country that's been arrested or charged with diagnosing 100 women with breast cancer when they didn't necessarily have it to sell chemo. So, but I know a number of oncologists that are far above that. They have integrity, but it's always a challenge for them, right? Because all they have to do is say, well, I think you have breast cancer, and they can start this regimen of radiation and chemo, and it's big dollars coming in, and I couldn't think of anything worse than if you're diagnosed with breast cancer when you don't have it.
Well, you've got big pharma, you've got big hospitals, big conglomerates. They have a protocol that they want everybody on. So, they can,
I know.
yeah,
That's
I don't
another
want to get into
discussion
that,
for
but
another day.
yeah, there are good ones out
Oh, they
there.
were
Like I
wonderful. I
have an
know
amazing
many.
oncologist. I adore her, and I'm not, I'm always skeptical of anything medicine. So
Yes.
I totally get where you're
The only
coming
thing I would
from.
say is if your oncologist, when you first time you go in, if she tells you, or he, but if she tells you, you have 3 months to live or 6 months to live, the only thing I would say then is find another oncologist immediately. That to me, that's it. That's a deal breaker. You're done. If you're going to put a date on when I'm going to die, I'm out of here. Other than that, there are so many that would never do that I know. In fact, you could ask them, how long do I have? It's not up to me. They won't tell you. Those are the ones you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the ones you want to keep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned before when you were talking about caregiving, and I think this is so important, is that you have to fill your own cup before you can pour into others. So what did you do for self-care, especially those last 6 months, but kind of the whole time that you were taking care of Becky, for your own mental health, for your own cup filling, so that you could be all in for her when she needed you?
I played golf. I played golf. She was my caddy when I played senior tour golf, and so I would go play 9 holes, or I'd go to the range and hit 500 golf balls, or I'd go to the putting green and putt for a while when she was sleeping, and when I knew I would be okay. Especially the last 6 months, I'd drain her in the morning. She was pretty wiped out for the day, and so we had cells, and if she needed something, she'd call me. I was up very close. The golf course was by the house, so that was my getting away, and talking to one good buddy I had, because you can't talk to anybody. Their caregivers are, like you said, they're kind of the unsung hero. They're the forgotten hero,
Mm-hmm.
and so there wasn't anybody I could really talk to because they wouldn't understand. I can't go tell my buddies about draining my wife. That they're going to go, what? That doesn't work. So I played a lot of golf, and I was with her most of the day, most of the time. The last couple of months I didn't do any. I was with her all the time. The last 2 weeks when she was in hospice, it was dark in the room constantly, and I was there 24/7. I would just go out to grab something to eat down the hall, and that sort of thing. But yeah, the caregivers got to get out, and so whatever your hobby is, whatever you enjoy doing, that keeps you close to home in case there's an emergency, go do it. And you've got to find somebody to talk to. So whoever that might be, you can't hold it in yourself. Your husband probably knows this, right? Did he have someone when you're going through this? What did he do? What was his out?
Unfortunately, I didn't need, mine was caught very early. I didn't do chemo. So, I was pretty self-sufficient. His was more of an emotional caregiving because, he took it all on. But I mean, he had work. He had one really good friend, and it was interesting that he found out who his true friends were because there were, he had a lot of people calling to ask about me and how I was doing and stuff. And he really only had one good friend other than his mom, of course, who would call and be like, "How are you doing?"
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
know and
good, yeah,
and he was ever so grateful for that, but he had work. He had, he was able to get out whenever he wanted to, because again, mine, I was still pretty self-sufficient
yeah,
for the most part. And my daughter came over and hung out, and for me, like, I would ask my friends to come over and go for a walk with me.
good,
Like, I
yeah,
just wanted to get out of the house and go for a walk, and so that saved him time, because I would have friends come over and
yeah,
stuff. But
yeah.
it's still, I don't know, like, and I don't know if you know either, but there are so many support groups out there for people going through cancer. Like, are there support groups out there for caregivers,
There are a few.
where they can talk to other
Yeah,
caregivers?
there are a few I've looked at. I talk about in my book, but they don't exist like they do for women with breast cancer. Mainly because it's women and guys have to be macho. Guys can't
Right.
sit around and talk about
Yeah.
how I drained my wife this afternoon. They can't. They don't do that. They talk about
Right.
cars and golf or football. So there are some, but they're nothing like what we have for women. And I thought about maybe launching a national network to do that, but I don't think it would work just because of the way guys are made up. I'd be fighting to get 12 guys to sit in a circle and talk about what's going on in their lives. They're not going to do it. But if find one
Right.
friend, which is what I say. And like you said, you'll know who your friends are. Those who, oh, I'm so sorry going through this, and you never hear from them again. Those aren't your friends. And guys like to think that we have all these friends. I have 4 or 5 friends in my life, and I know tens of thousands of people. I have 4 or 5 friends. On one hand, I can count them. They're my true friends. And you know what? They're all I need. I don't need anybody else because I know they'll always be there, just like they know I'm there for them. So a guy needs to find one friend, a caregiver, and he'll be.
Yeah, I wish that there was more. I actually interviewed a gentleman who had esophageal cancer, and he actually found like a support group for men, who have gone through cancer,
Uh-huh.
which is a huge step in the right direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Because at least there are support groups for men going through cancer. But I think that we need support groups for caregivers, because that's just so important to have somebody to talk to. And not everybody has those 4 or 5 friends that they
Right.
can
Yeah.
talk about draining their wife, every day, and
Yeah.
them not totally freaking out.
I know. I've
So, I
been
mean, if you have
asked.
other caregivers who
Well,
can,
I've been asked many
converse and
times to
stuff,
write a book just for caregivers, but I'm done writing
there you
books.
go.
I'm done. I'm done writing books, and so it just each time I go back into that world, it's hard to get out of it. And plus I live in it now every day with so many coming to shop. And if you look at our Facebook page, you'll see so many are coming to us for support. We have kind of a team with the foundation where, if the wife or girlfriend has been abandoned by the man, we line them up with someone to help them, support them, because you got to have support. So I'm spending my life in that world, and it's hard,
Mhm.
because you're dealing with death and pain and agony. It's hard. So I don't want to write another book. I'm done with that.
I got you. It is hard being in this world. I've lost 3 friends in the last 2 months,
Oh yeah.
from
Oh
cancer, and
yeah.
it just, yeah,
It's just
it's
heartbreaking. It really is. Yeah.
but it's reality, unfortunately, until
Yeah.
we can find cures, it's reality. So, all right, so Rick, where can people find you? Where can people find your book? Where can people like donate if they want to just be able to help this organization keep Becky's name alive
Yes,
and
yes.
helping people who, who need help going through this process.
The best, if you're on Facebook, the best place is our Becky Baker Foundation page on Facebook. That's kind of the brain of the organization. Everything is there. BeckyBakerFoundation.org. You can see kind of the national thing, what's going on. If you want a book, just go to the Facebook page. My cell number is there. My text me. I'll send you a book. I still have a couple thousand left out of the 5, and be glad to give you a book. But if you want to know what's going on with us, it's pretty much the Facebook page. And we're very transparent with everything that we do. If you're in Colorado or near Pueblo, then come see our store in the Pueblo Mall. It'll blow your mind. All this brand new cool stuff and if you've been affected by breast cancer, while you're there, shop for free. Bring your bags with you. You don't need to schedule a time. Come see the store and shop and take whatever you need.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I may have to take a trip down there and see the store.
Come see it. Absolutely. Denver's not that far. Come on.
It's just a couple hours.
Yeah,
hey, no worries.
Yeah.
All right. And then also BeckyBakerFoundation.org has Becky's story on there.
Yes.
And some of the things that you guys are doing to help people affected by breast cancer. I love the new support for women who have been abandoned. I think that is so needed and unfortunately so needed, and just a beautiful thing that you're doing. And, I know Becky would be so proud and so happy that you are making sure that people don't ever forget her name.
Yes. This has been great. Thank you so much. It's great seeing you.
Thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate
my pleasure.
it. We'll put all that information in the show notes so people can contact you. And again, first 15 people that reach out to me, I will send you a copy of Rick's book, also at no charge. So, thank you so much for being on today.
My
I really
pleasure.
appreciate
Thank
all
you.
your time, and good luck with the store and everything that you're doing.
And you too. This is wonderful what you're doing. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.